My boyfriend wants to leave me because I wasn't happy enough about the baby that he didn't want to have. I recently found out I was pregnant. It wasn't planned. I'm only 18 and I was terrified. I'm not ready to be a mom. I really would love to be in the future, but not now. I told my boyfriend and he was in favor of getting an abortion. He said he wasn't ready. I agreed with him but was so scared. I wanted to talk about all our options, but anytime I would mention adoption or keeping it, he didn't want to hear it. He even said if I kept it, he would try to be in the child's life, but he could not be with me because he would never look at me the same if I decided to inconvenience him by keeping it. He later took that back. This has been the most traumatic experience of my life. I went to the doctor and they took my HGC level. They said it wasn't high enough and it looked like the pregnancy wasn't viable and the baby wasn't healthy. This crushed me. Because even though I didn't think I could be a mom just yet, the face that my baby wasn't healthy and probably wasn't going to make it hurt me. I cried and cried to my boyfriend. He's not the best with comforting me. He usually just sits in silence until he figures out something to say. I understand that he's doing his best. I was crying to him because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to have children later in life. I asked him, "Do you think I'll be able to have babies later?" He said, "I hope so." Then he started talking about the movie Up and how the couple in the movie can't have children. He said, "I wonder if that will be us." That made me feel worse. I just wanted some comfort in that moment. Not that. I said, "I have to call you back." The next day he texted me saying he wants a paternity test. He was mad I hung up, I guess. He then called me and went off on me. I don't even remember everything he said, but it was bad. He told me that the baby wasn't the mistake that I was. He said, "Fuck you and the baby." He said that I have had nothing good to say about the baby, which isn't true. He told me I'm a horrible person and that he doesn't want to be with me. He said that he would never want me to be the mother of his child. He said he didn't care cause the baby is gonna die anyway, so fuck it. It was horrible. Later he called and briefly said sorry, but then just started demanding I tell him when I was going to abort it. Even though I already told him I don't know if the baby is going to survive, I might miscarry. He apologized later. Today I got my HGC levels back again and it went down. It looks like my baby is going to die soon. He then told me that he doesn't want to be with me because I was not happy enough about the baby and other girls would be grateful to have his baby. I said, "How can I be happy when I will have to get an abortion?" He said I could still be happy, it's his baby. He said I did nothing to comfort him and he feels alone with me. He doesn't want to be with me. I'm so traumatized after this whole situation. How do I handle this? Comment. So, he didn't want to have the baby, was demanding to know the abortion was happen. Then he was upset with OP because the baby wasn't going to survive, and that OP was okay with also on board with aborting. He was upset if OP wanted to have the baby, but also upset if OP didn't want the baby. OP is screwed either way in every way. He sounds toxic and abusive and emotionally confused about what he wants. Dump him, and I hope you recover quickly. I'm sure babies are in your future. Miscarriages are very common. You will get through this. Gotta squeeze that in before the abortion he definitely wants, but is upset she thought about agreeing to before it became clear the pregnancy wasn't viable. Also, fuck her and the baby, and why the hell isn't she happy about all this? How do these people even keep up with their own emotional gymnastics? I couldn't cobble together such a nonsensical collection of self-absorbed reactions if I tried. That was my first thought too. He probably had a chat with a friend and suddenly got some other shitty idea in his head to get mad at her about. OP, this guy is garbage. Emotionally unstable and verbally abusive. Dump him and do what you need to do for yourself to process this traumatic situation. You deserve someone who will be there for you and treat you right. He's so young and not able to control his emotions and think anything through. He's all upset, so he loads it onto OP as well. He made everything worse because he's too young and doesn't think and is all reaction. He sounds extremely exhausting. Ignore him until after this is resolved. If he can't help or support you, then he's useless. Treat him that way and see what happens. You are also young, and your ability to have a baby should be unaffected by this. If you get scared, you can go to a hospital for guidance. If you stay with your BF, then lay down the law. Tell him to support you better or he can hit the bricks. It sounds like he was trying to use the baby as an out in the first place, and learning she was going to lose the baby meant he had to in some way flip it so he could still have an out. He didn't want to be with OP if she kept it, and now he doesn't want to be with OP even though the baby will never be born. OP, I lost my first as well. It's very common sadly, and it's something no one tells you about. 80% of women lose their first baby to no fault of their own. Their bodies just don't know what it's doing right now or what's happening. My husband and I have conflicting blood types. So not only was my baby my first, but my body was attacking it like a foreign object or sickness. This is not your fault. I really want you to know that. If you're religious, know God, or whoever else you follow, did not do this to punish or hurt you. This was of no fault of your own, and you do not deserve this kind of pain and negativity while going through this loss. Please know that while 80% of women lose their first, 95% carry their second to term. My rainbow baby is 5 months old this month. You will be an amazing and incredible mother when you are ready. All the hugs and forehead kisses to you, OP. Also wanted to piggyback on this to say, OP, no matter how much or how little you feel about your worth, no matter how much or how little you think you might deserve anything or anyone better or worse than this guy and how he treats you, no one deserves this. No one, including you. You and every other human being on the planet deserves better than this. You cannot fix him, and you should not try to. If he ever does improve his behavior, it will have to be of his own accord. Feel your feelings, mourn the relationship you wanted and thought you had, and pick up and move on. Your life will be better without him, and after the pain fades you will be sure of this and so happy you got out. Story 2. My friend tried to kiss me yesterday while his wife slept next to us. For ease of reading, I'll refer to the couple as Pete and Sarah. Context: I invited my Pete and Sarah over to my place yesterday to hang out and watch a movie. They got married at the start of this year. I've known Pete for over 10 years. They've been together for a couple of years and I only know her via him. She's always been really lovely to me, and I was even a bridesmaid in their wedding after only meeting her once. Another important piece of context is that while myself and Pete have been friends for a long time, there was a time during that period in which we sometimes slept together. This is now over 5 years ago. He was keen for us to become a couple, but I decided that our friendship was more important and I wasn't particularly interested in him as a partner. I don't know if Sarah knows about this. The night before her wedding, Sarah had a bit too much to drink and confided in me that Pete had cheated on her multiple times. I told her I found this totally unacceptable and I was genuinely devastated to think that my friend would do such a thing. I've confronted him about this, privately because I don't think Sarah remembers telling me, and told him that it's not okay and Sarah deserves to be treated much better. He denied that anything actually happened, but I don't think Sarah is the type to say that for no reason. Fast forward to last night, the three of us are drinking and watching movies in the house I share with my partner, who was out with his friends. Sarah had a bit too much to drink and fell asleep on the sofa. Pete was between us. He checked to see that Sarah was asleep, then leaned in to kiss me. I smacked him. We had all been drinking at this point, but Pete had significantly less to drink than myself and Sarah, so I can't put this down to him being drunk. He sort of laughed it off and then woke Sarah to get them a taxi home. As they were leaving, he let Sarah leave first, then planted a kiss on my lips and left. My partner had returned home by this point, so I went upstairs to tell him what happened. I'm so upset. I cried down the phone to my mom for 2 hours. My question is, do I tell Sarah? I'd want to know if it were me, but I also don't want to be the reason behind a breakup in their marriage, and I'd also essentially be severing 2 close friendships. Edit. Thank you everyone. I called her and told her. I've literally been sick because I feel so awful for her. I blocked him on everything. She's now messaged me saying that Pete is claiming I kissed him. I want to block her now too because this is all too much for me, but I feel like she deserves answers if she asks questions. Comment. Tell her she's welcome to believe him if she wants, but the fact remains you have no reason to lie to her and he's been unfaithful before. Past behaviors predict future behaviors. Either way, this friendship needs to be over. Period. Full stop. Unless you and Sarah become friends after she leaves him, cut your ties. Nothing good will come from staying in contact, especially with him. I think it's also good to come to terms with the fact that Pete is not a good friend and you don't want to keep around someone who disrespects you and your personal space. That should make next steps a bit easier, in terms of telling Sarah. At least for me, it wouldn't be exclusively about how her husband is cheating on her, but also how you are not available anymore as a friend for him. Not sure how much there is to save with Sarah's friendship. You 100% tell her. She sounds like she has been hella manipulated by this dude and will need a friend to help her out of this shit show. The fact she asked you to be her bridesmaid after not knowing you that long suggests she doesn't have many other friends and really clicked with you. Make sure she is safe and help her get out of that marriage ASAP. The only thing you must do is protect your current relationship. You already told him what happened. But it's also very clear you can't be alone with Pete ever again. Pete will keep trying to isolate you and clearly sees no issue in forcing you into a kiss. Hello? SA. So at the very least, future get-togethers will be noticeably awkward. Sarah for sure will notice. So to protect your relationship and to protect Sarah, you have to tell her. And if this wasn't obvious, you go and see with Pete. He's out of your life for good. In what universe did you think hanging out with a guy you used to bang and his wife would turn out okay? Did she know you guys used to bang? What he did was abhorrent, no question. But get out of there and choose better guy friends in the future. You can't control how Sarah reacts. That being said, she seems to know he cheats and has stayed with him. I'd be surprised if she believed you and left him after all that. This really sucks. I hate finding out a person I thought was a close friend for years is actually an asshole. It always sends me into a spiral of self-doubt and anger. It sounds like you have support to work through this and keep him out of your life for good. Sarah might reach out if she ever stops being his doormat, but she probably won't. You did the right thing for her and most importantly, for you. Hold your head high and move on when you're ready.